Hello and welcome to Nana's Crafty Home. My name is Tanya. Today's tutorial is going to show you how to crochet the Flower Meadow Blanket, which you can find as a free pattern on my website. This pattern is absolutely gorgeous. We have a square blanket that is worked in seamless rounds, and we have the main body of the blanket in this moss, also called the linen stitch. That is a very simple beginner-friendly stitch. And then this edging is a row of flowers that is crocheted right into your blanket, no sewing required. This may look complicated, but it's really not. I think you're going to be surprised at how easy this is. This flower actually made its first appearance in my Autumn Rhapsody blanket, so if you have made that blanket, this is the mum flower stitch. And you also would have seen this make an appearance in my Flower Meadow shawl, which is actually the same design. It's a triangle shawl in this same stitch pattern. For today's tutorial, I am going to be using Red Heart Super Saver Ombre in deep teal, which is the same color as my blanket. And I used 1,160 yards for my blanket. And I'm also using a Red Heart Unforgettable for my flowers and my edging. I'm going to be using the stained glass colorway for my tutorial. You are also going to be using a size J or a 6.0 millimeter crochet hook. The approximate finished size of my blanket is 42 inches by 42 inches square. And I used a total of about 1,400 to 1,500 yards between. Let's go ahead and get started. So to start our blanket, we're going to begin with a magic circle. And I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to work one single crochet in a chain two 4 times. So one single crochet, chain two, one time, one single crochet, chain two, that's 2, one single crochet, chain two, that's 3, one single crochet, chain two, that's 4, and then one final single crochet in that means magic circle. You're going to pull your magic circle tightly closed, but you're not going to slip stitch join. We're going to be working our blanket in seamless rounds, so we will not be slip stitch joining at the end of every round. You can certainly use a stitch marker if you'd like as you're moving through. For your first round, you're going to have a total of 5 single crochets in your magic circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, with 4 chain 2 spaces, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So to move on to round 2, I'm going to work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, a chain 1 in every chain 2 space around. So in that first chain 2 space, so I did not slip stitch join to that first stitch. I'm going to skip the first stitch of round 1, and in that chain 2, that first chain 2 space that I made, I'm going to work one single crochet, chain 2, one single crochet, and chain 1 in that same chain 2 space. Again, if you'd like to keep track of the first stitch of your round, you can mark that with a stitch marker if you'd like. So now I'm going to repeat that in every chain 2 space, one single crochet, chain 2, one single crochet, chain 1 in that same chain 2 space. In the next chain 2 space, one single crochet, chain 2, one single crochet, chain 1. In this last chain 2 space, same thing, one single crochet, chain 2, 1 single crochet, chain 1. So for round 2, you're going to have 8 single crochets. So in every chain 2, you'll have 2 single crochets. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 4 chain 2 spaces. So each corner chain 2 space, you're going to have 4 of those. We're going to move on to round 3, and I'm going to work 1 single crochet, chain 2, 1 single crochet, chain 1 in that first chain 2 corner space. And again, if you wish, you can move up your stitch marker to that first stitch. Now you're going to work 1 single crochet and chain 1 in each chain 1 space until we get to the corner. So in that next chain 1 space, I'm going to single crochet, chain 1. In that next chain 2 space, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 1. In the next chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1, chain 2 space, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 1. In the next chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1, chain 2 space, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 1. In that next chain 1 space, before I get to my first stitch, single crochet, chain 1. So now for round 3, I should have a total of 12 single crochets. So in each chain 2 corner space, you're going to have 2 single crochets. So 2, 4, 6, and 8, and then a single crochet in between in those chain 1 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 for a total of 12 single crochets and 4 chain 2 corner spaces. So round 4 is going to be my repeat round throughout the main body of my blanket. You're going to be working a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 1 in every chain 2 corner space. Again, you could move up your stitch marker if needed. And then in each chain 1 space to the corner, you're going to be working a single crochet, chain 1. Next chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1. In that chain 2 corner space, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1 in each space to the next corner. Repeat, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 1 in that chain 2 space, single crochet, chain 1 in each chain 1 space to the next corner, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1. So as you move throughout your blanket, your stitch count will increase by 4 single crochet stitches every round. So you can keep track and make sure that you're not missing any stitches if you'd like to count every round. But you're just going to be repeating round 4 now through round 76. So that simple 1 row repeat, and you're going to continue repeating that through the end of round 76. So after you've completed round 76, for round 77, we're going to be just working a round of single crochets all the way around. So in our first chain 2 space, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and then in every stitch in chain 1 space, a single crochet. And this is our base for our flower centers. So just work a single crochet in every stitch and in every space, working a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in each of your chain 2 corner spaces around. So I've completed round 77 of just single crochets. I'm ready to move on to round 78, which is my flower center round. In my first chain 2 space, I'm going to be working a flower center. And the flower centers are worked typically in your front and back loops separately of the stitch that you're working in. When you're working in a chain 2 space, you're working into the back and front loops of a chain. And so in my first chain 2 space, I'm working in the back of a chain, the back loop, and I'm placing 4 single crochets. You can place a stitch marker to keep track of your first stitch. So 4 single crochets in that back loop. Rotate your work slightly, and in the front loop of that chain, you're going to place 4 more single crochets. You're going to have 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you're going to be slip stitching to your first stitch. We're working in the back loops only for round 2. Chain 1, 2 single crochets in that same stitch. Move up your stitch marker, and then 2 single crochets in the back loop of every stitch from round 1. You'll have a total of 16 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So now we're going to slip stitch to the first stitch, and we're working in the back loops only. And then slip stitch in the back loop of the next 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now we want to come down and work into our round again. So we want to pull this flap back so that we can see the very next stitch, and we're going to be working a single crochet in the next 10 stitches. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're going to be working a flower center in the very next stitch. So we're going to be repeating all the same steps from that first flower center that I worked into the next stitch. And I'm going to be doing that by working 4 single crochets in the back loop. And you can place a stitch marker in that first stitch. Rotating your work, 4 single crochets in the unused front loop of that same stitch. And then you will just repeat all the same steps for round 2, slip stitching, working in the back loops only, 2 single crochets in the back loop of each stitch of the round that I just worked. And then you're going to be working 10 single crochets, so 10 stitches in between each of the flower centers around. But you'll have 10 stitches in between each one of your flower centers, and then a flower center in each of your chain 2 spaces. So continue that on around. Once you've completed round 78, you're ready to work on your flower petals. Your flower petals are going to be using your color B. And we're going to be working our petals right into our flower centers from our previous round. So you're going to attach color B to the front loop of any stitch of round 1 from your flower center. So those unused front loops, remember we worked in the back loops, we're going to be attaching in that unused front loop color B with a slip stitch. Chain 3, slip stitch into the next unused front loop, chain 3, slip stitch into the next unused front loop, chain 3, slip stitch into the next unused front loop. Some of these might be a little tight. Chain 3, slip stitch into the next unused front loop, chain 3, and repeat that all the way around. Remember we had 8 stitches, so you're going to be working that 8 times, and you're going to slip stitch to your first stitch, so basically into that front loop that you worked your first stitch into, chain 3, and now we're going to be working in the unused front loops from round 2. So round 2, remember we worked into our back loops, so again we're going to be coming back here and picking up my unused front loop, chaining 3, slip stitch into the next unused front loop, chaining 3, slip stitch into the next, and you're going to be repeating that around. Remember we had a total of 16 stitches, so you're going to be doing that a total of 16 times all the way around, working a slip stitch and chain 3 in every one of those unused front loops around. When we get to the last stitch, we're going to be slip stitching to the first stitch that we made from that round, chaining 3, and now we're going to be working in the back loops from round 2. And those may be, remember we worked some slip stitches when we were working around to get back to our main row. And so those, there will be 8 slip stitches that you're working into. Otherwise it'll be the unused back loops from round 2 of your flower center. So we're just slip stitching and chaining 3 in every one of those stitches around. So basically we're just working 3 rounds of slip stitch and chain 3 around your flower centers. Once we get to the end of our round, we're going to be slip stitching into the first stitch, fastening off, and we've completed the petals for our flowers. And then of course you're going to weave in your ends. But look how pretty that is. Gorgeous and so simple. It looks so much more complicated than it really is. So you're going to be repeating those same steps for every one of your flower centers around your blanket. For round 79, this is going to be the round that works behind our flower centers. And I'm going to be working in my first chain 2 space. So you're going to be using a bar back behind that flower center in that chain 2 space. You're going to be working, and this is the only one you're going to be doing this, but in your first chain 2 space you're going to be working 2 single crochets, chain 2, and a single crochet. And behind the rest of your flower centers in your corner spaces, you'll just be working 1 single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet, just as we were normally behind our flower centers. And that's going to create our chain 2 corner spaces to work in for the rest of our rounds. And now we're just going to be working 1 single crochet in every stitch between that flower center and the next flower center. So 1 single crochet in every stitch. But I need to pick up a stitch behind each of the flower centers. And the reason being is we worked a flower center into a stitch. So I need to account for that in order to keep up my stitch count. So behind that flower center, I'm going to be working an extra stitch. You can either put 2 stitches in the stitch right next to it on the front side, or 2 stitches on the other side, or you can pick up a single crochet somewhere behind that flower center. So for mine, I'm going to go ahead and place an extra single crochet in that stitch right before that flower center, skip over that flower center, and you're going to be working in the next single crochets. So you see you've bridged that gap between those stitches, accounted for that stitch, and you're maintaining your stitch count. So just continue working a single crochet in every stitch, picking up an extra stitch behind each of the flower centers, and then in each of the corner spaces now, you'll be working a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. So after you've completed round 79, we're moving on to round 80, and this will begin working our stitch pattern, our original stitch pattern for the main body of our blanket that we were working through round 76. And we're going to start by working a single crochet in that first stitch, and then chain 1, and then single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in that chain 2 corner space, chain 1, skip the next stitch, single crochet, chain 1 in the next. So we're working that same stitch pattern. Skip the next stitch, single crochet, chain 1 in the next, skip the next stitch, single crochet, chain 1 in the next, skip the next stitch, single crochet, chain 1 in the next. And you're just going to be repeating that around, and you'll work a single crochet, chain 2 in each of your chain 2 corner spaces around. So continue that on around. Once we've completed round 80, for round 81, we're going to actually be repeating our round 4, which was our repeat from the main body of our blanket. So we're essentially just working our moss stitch or linen stitch that we were working previously. So we're just going to begin by working our single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in that chain 2 corner space, chaining 1, and then working a single crochet, chain 1 in every chain 1 space. And we're just going to be repeating that around. And then when we get to our chain 2 corner space, we're just going to be working our standard corner of single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. So continue repeating this through round 84, and we'll be ready to move on to our final border round. So for our final border round, we're going to be using our color B. And in our chain 2 space, we're going to be working a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and then in each chain 1 space, we're going to be working a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. So all the way around in every chain space, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, as well as our chain 2 corner spaces, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And that's how easy it is to create that really pretty, simple border around our blanket. Single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet. So that just continue that on around your blanket for your border, and your blanket will be complete. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today. Thanks so much for being with me. As always, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss a new video. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and Twitter. And remember to also subscribe to my newsletter so that you never miss out on any of my free patterns. Head on over to nanascraftyhome.com for lots of additional tutorials and free patterns as well. Take care, everyone. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.